Arthur C. Clarke once said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And I think that many of us just accept the magic of the world we live in, not thinking about how it all works behind the scenes. Today, we're going to be talking to one of those companies that makes that magic happen. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is Chris Brandt. Welcome to another FUTRtech video podcast. Today, we're talking to Phenix, which provides an advanced real-time streaming platform to accelerate the delivery of audio and video time-aligned and at lightning speeds. Now, to date, Phenix has raised over $33 million from investors like Verizon and KB Partners. And we're going to be talking with Jed Corenthal, CMO of Phenix, who's going to tell us about how real-time streaming works and why it matters to you. Welcome, Jed.
Glad to be here, Chris.
Well, thanks for coming. I think this is a really interesting technology we're talking about because, you know, people don't always think about sort of the plumbing behind everything and how it all works and how important it is, right? So before we get into all that, can you just give me a little bit of the founder story? You know, what were they thinking when, you know, they decided, hey, you know, real-time streaming is where it's at, and I'm gonna do this.
Where it's at. You know, I sort of like to say content is king, but technology is queen. So, you know, we're right there up there with the content. So yeah, so our founder, Stefan Barrère, or Dr. Stefan Barrère, came over from Switzerland about 22 years ago on a Siemens graduate scholarship, and he has been kind of in the streaming space since then. I mean, live streaming. You know, when what was live streaming in 2020 or year 2000? So he's really a visionary and you know, went through a couple of companies, and then when he started Phenix, the idea was to stream the Olympics opening ceremony to 1 billion people around the world at the same time. That was sort of like, you know,
that's a B.
Yeah.
A billion with a B.
With a B, that's right. So, and, you know, remember in 2013, when he started the company, the Olympics might have still been reaching 1 billion people. Now, unfortunately, I'm not so sure. I hope Beijing does, but we'll see.
It's going to be an interesting time.
Yeah,
indeed. So tell me, you know, I think a lot of people don't understand, you know, we hear about real-time streaming and, you know, we're used to watching TV on a computer now, and our TVs have become computers, you know, to be perfectly honest.
And so have our phones.
And so have our phones, right? So tell me, what is real-time streaming? Like, what's all the secret sauce that goes into all that?
Yeah, so basically, you know, streaming is there's sort of two distinct ways to stream content. One is a protocol known as HLS, which stands for HTTP live streaming. It's an Apple-based product that was delivered, you know, several years ago, 18 or 19 years ago, 17 years ago, and not even for video. It was really delivered for data storage and breaking data up into chunks. But it was kind of pressed into doing video streaming. And companies started to realize that they could stream to a large audience. So when you wanted to stream the Super Bowl or some big event, you know, you could use this technology to do that. Unfortunately, the way that the workflow is such that, you know, you have to kind of break up the video, and all, you know, the whole process takes time, and you can't watch the video until it's completely reassembled and ready to go. So it leaves, unfortunately, these periods of delay or latency in the stream. And this is why when you watch some of the games that you watch now, you know, you can be 20, 30, 50, 60 seconds behind the field of play. So there's just, you know, there's a spoiler alert. You know, if I'm talking to you and we're both watching the game and you said, wow, what a great catch that was, and you haven't seen it yet, you know, what a drag. I mean, it's just not really a fun user experience. So that's how it's been for so many years. About 7 or 8 years ago, Google came out with an open source project called WebRTC, which stands for Web Real-Time Communication, which is really the technology that most of the video conferencing tools that everybody now uses sort of daily because of the pandemic, you know, Teams and Hangouts and FaceTime and all of those video conferencing tools, because it was designed specifically to do that, to video chat in real time, just like we're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's great. The downside of that of at least what has been initially thought of that technology or that protocol is that it really doesn't scale. But the truth is that it doesn't scale because people haven't figured out how to use the protocol to scale or develop a way to scale. Stefan, our founder, has figured that out. What he basically did was, imagine if you take the engine from a car and you break it down and then rebuild it so it becomes faster and stronger. That's essentially what he did with the WebRTC protocol. He reverse engineered it and rebuilt it from scratch so it would scale from day one. So now we have a platform that allows anybody that has content to stream their content in real time, which is essentially defined as sub-half-second latency, but also at scale. So we're able to stream hundreds and hundreds of thousands or millions of users concurrently while still maintaining that same latency. And then sort of the third piece of the stool, if you will, is what we refer to as synchronous viewing. Mm-hmm. Being able to synchronize the stream across everyone's device is as essential as being able to stream it in real time, because not only is there latency between the field of play and your device, but there's latency between users on the same platform. So if the three of us and anyone who's listening, we're watching a game on the same platform, on the same device, we would all be watching at slightly different times. You may be 30 seconds, Dish might be 50 seconds, I might be 20 seconds. And when you start looking at things like interactivity and chat and watch parties and all of those things, and then of course the holy grail of betting, which I'm sure we'll get into, you can't afford these delays. And so that's what we're starting to get to. And what used to be sort of, taken for granted, this is just the way it is, you have to deal with delay, doesn't have to be taken anymore because we've built technology that solves those issues.
So I guess, you talked about a lot of really interesting things in there, but I want to start with, we're ultimately dealing with a sort of a speed of light issue in some regards, right? Yeah. And, you can't cheat the speed of light. But, obviously there's a lot in between the speed of light and what shows up on your screen. And I know, we were talking about this the other day that, some of these broadcasts over the internet are upwards of 60 seconds behind, which is an enormous amount of delay. Obviously all these people looked into it and they're optimizing their platform. Like, what did you guys, and I'm sure there's a lot of patents here and things you can't talk about, but like, what is that secret sauce? I mean, how did you figure out how to do that? What is it?
It's very complex technology. And I am smart enough to know what I don't know. I know enough to hurt you, and that's about it on the technology. But the truth is that it's not one thing, and that's what makes it so unique. Is if it was just one thing, it probably would be easier to replicate, but it's not so easy, and it's not just one thing. It's a multitude of things that have been done by Stefan and the team to enable us to create a platform that allows us to stream with such a low latency, but also maintain these other elements of scale and synchronous viewing. It's the act of streaming in real time isn't alone itself, that dramatic. I mean, it can be done. We're doing it right now.
Right.
The act of doing it at scale is what makes it so difficult. And being able to say, okay, well, we can stream this event to 1 million people. That's when it becomes a challenge. And you can't just throw $10 million or 100 engineers at it. There has to be the knowledge of what goes behind the scenes here to be able to figure that out. And that's what our guys are, highly, highly qualified, experienced. Military technologists. It's pretty impressive, the resumes of Stefan and our engineering team.
So now you guys kind of function like a CDN, a content distribution network in some regards, right? You have your own systems and servers and backplane.
Because we can't hand off to an Akamai or a Limelight or another third-party CDN because it's just not fast enough. We deliver everything much faster than they can handle right now.
Okay. And so like you've built your own global network and you have points of presence and I would assume all the NFL cities.
We have 33 around the world. Soon to be growing because we have multiple cloud partners in Google and Oracle. We're growing to a third, potentially a third cloud partner. We're working on onboarding other pops. So yeah, I mean, there isn't a territory in the world we can't reach.
So you kind of sit in the middle of all this, and you're not dealing with the sort of the first and last mile, are you? You're kind of taking a feed from something, accelerating it towards the destination, and then handing it off.
We pick up a signal. Obviously, we'd like to pick up that signal as close to the action, the field, the arena, the racetrack, wherever that might be, the auction, wherever we're picking up that signal, we want it to be as close to that action as possible. And then we take that signal and deliver it all the way through up to our cloud and then all the way through to the end user. But yes, we focus just specifically on the video delivery.
Okay. It's interesting because it doesn't really require then any special browsers or special protocols or any kind of...
No downloads, no clients. It's WebRTC is now a W3C standard. It's in all browsers. We're compatible with Apple, Google devices, any device that has a WebRTC kit. Samsung Tizen is their operating system. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. And I think they're responsible for about 50% of the connected TVs. They have a WebRTC kit, so we can stream to connected TVs from Samsung. As more and more people develop WebRTC compatibility, we'll be able to stream to more and more devices.
Well, I was going to say you don't have backing from Samsung yet. You got backing from Verizon.
Not yet.
Right.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Put this into context, right? I mean, I think we've all kind of been on Zoom calls and just been frustrated by that annoying delay. Like we're all talking over each other because of all that latency. I mean, there's two pieces of that, right? There's latency and jitter too, right? Which can cause a lot of other issues, and jitter's sort of the variable nature of the latency over a session, and so put into context, like what are some of the cool use cases that this kind of technology has? Like, what are some of the kinds of things? I mean, you mentioned about the holy grail of gaming, and I can imagine if one person's watching a feed that's a minute later than another's, they're going to be a very successful gamer. But but
I'm trying to figure out a way, Chris, that I can watch the stream before it happens. Right. Then I can really make some money.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But no. So tell me about like some of the use cases for this technology.
Sure, absolutely. So we mentioned Verizon as an investor, but they're also a big client, and we do a lot of work with them. I'm actually technically called Edgecast now, after the deal that they sold off to Apollo. So with Edgecast, we do a lot of work with NFL games, NBA games. Right now, this past season we streamed most of the NFL games on the Verizon. I think it's the 5G mobile devices. We will do that again for this year's Super Bowl. We streamed last year's Super Bowl for them as well. We also incorporate a really cool feature that's essentially a multi-camera feature, where you can watch the game from up to 7 different camera angles, and all of those cameras are in real time and they're all in sync. So you can toggle between each one. You can kind of become your own little producer. And let's say you wanted to see the play from the end zone or from the 50-yard line or from up above or whatnot, and then you can replay any play that you wanted from a different angle. So it's a cool feature, and we're doing it again for the NFC Championship game. We'll be doing it again, as I said, for the Super Bowl. We did for Yahoo Sports. We did for the first time for their fantasy product, NFL Fantasy. Instead of being able to having to leave the site where you're drafting your players and then chat with your friends, on Twitter or some other application, we added a video chat function to the draft parties. So in the same site where you're drafting and talking trash with your friends as you're drafting your team. You can do that all in real time on video. So that really took off for them. We had something like 6 million streams over the course of a couple of weeks, and I remember the Labor Day weekend was like 400,000 users. It was just insane. So so those are a couple things. In the UK, we're doing a lot in betting. You know, the overseas betting market is a bit more mature than the US, although the US is catching up quite quickly. We did the biggest week of horse racing with Stats Perform and their client Racecourse Media Group in the UK. It's called the Cheltenham Festival, and that's a festival that happens over 4 days. There are 7 races a day, and what was unique about that week for us was that one of the things that we've seen other platforms have trouble with is what's known as join rate. How many people join at once? Some of the fights that we've seen, McGregor and Mayweather and some of the other things, when people would join to sign up, 200,000 people or 300,000 people would join at once, and it crashed the platform. They couldn't handle it. We had that. For 28 races, we had that on every single race. We had 100, 200, 300,000 people coming for the race. The race would run, and then they'd leave. And then 10 minutes later, the next race would come. 200,000 people would come. I mean, they're joining virtually at the same time. Yeah. And then leave. And then that happened 28 times. And we had up to 500,000 concurrent users on a few races. And that was the most that we had. In fact, it's the most that anybody's ever had for a real-time stream. So we're going to be starting to do a lot more in the betting space here in the U.S. We've got a lot of interesting conversations coming, and we've been talking to some broadcasters here. So there's a real desire to get into real-time.
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned, like watch parties and, like there's this whole idea of second screening and, providing additional content. But, I think the where that struggles a lot oftentimes is in the time alignment. And that's one of the things that you guys are doing is sort of synchronizing everybody to the same, view. Could you talk about, some of those things that you've seen out there that are really allowing people to, collaborate and watch simultaneously?
Yeah, I think betting is probably the biggest use case for that, because traditionally what you've had, bettors bet on data. You have your sports book and you look at the odds and you see, well, is he going to hit a field goal, or is he going to hit a home run on the next pitch, or, any of the bets that you typically want to make, whether they're in play or before the game or the odds or the spread or whatnot. And you bet on the data, and then you go and, you watch the game from wherever you're watching, whether it be a TV or somewhere else. That's a traditional bet and watch product or experience. But what we do, because you now can stream in real time and we can sync video with data, is we're sort of switching that, and we're creating a watch and bet experience. So on the same app, the same sports book, not only are you able to bet, you're able to watch that race, game, whatever it is, on that same platform. So you're watching and you're betting and you're watching and you never leave the app. You're watching your game. And let's say, you want to bet on, Patrick Mahomes. Imagine this. If you watch the last 2 minutes of that Bills-Chiefs game and you were able to bet on every play in that game while you were watching the game on your device, I mean, what a cool experience. I mean, Absolutely. The amount of money that could have been generated by someone doing that would have been just insane.
I think you would have had a lot of people throwing a remote through a TV screen.
Maybe so, yes.
There would have been a lot of TVs broken because it went back and forth.
It was exciting. It was great.
As a gambler and a sports fan, I think this is something really exciting for me, to be honest. Like, I'm just taking some notes here, and I'm trying to understand, what is what can we expect in 2022? What are the advancements you think that we can do in real time?
Well, I think that we're going to see a lot more of this sort of watch and bet experience that I was alluding to with what's referred to as micro betting, where, you're betting on every pitch in a game or every play in a football game or et cetera, and I think being able to do that while you're watching that game is going to give fans a totally different perspective on, how they consume the content, betting, look, I mean, there's no secret that more and more people are moving to streaming platforms. I mean, the sort of the living room of the future, of the near future, is going to be people watching sports on streaming platforms, not on their cable bundle. I mean, that's just...
I don't even have cable anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the days are numbered, you know. And more networks and companies are going to go direct to consumer, because at some point, you know, the numbers get bared out that the money that they were making from the cable is going to be less than if they just went direct to consumer. So it's just a matter of time. So being able to, I mean, you know, imagine if you've got on your large TV screen, you know, you've got a multitude of thumbnails, if you will, which are big because it's on your big screen, where you're watching a game, you've got a sports book, you're betting, I mean, all in one place. It's just, you know, I think it's a really exciting time, frankly. I think it's just, things are going to take off in the next year, especially as, you know, we're at about 150 or so million adults have some form of, you know, access to sports betting now. So as betting becomes more national, and it becomes a much, you know, we start hitting 35, 40 states, even more. You know, New York is now in, California is going to be in the next year. There's no question. Florida's trying to figure something out. I mean, you know, once the big states come in, everybody else is going to drop. And then it's, no pun intended, all bets are off.
Yeah. God, that honestly sounds actually super amazing. And it's impressive that it's coming that soon.
I think so. I think within, you know, a year or two, we're going to start seeing things like that. Yeah.
You said something before too about when you watching a football game or whatever game it might be, but watching it from different angles at the same time. What do you mean by that? Does it do you mean, just if you can explain that.
Yeah, so if you essentially looked at your phone, instead of just having that sort of one hero image of watching a game, imagine you had sort of a larger image on the top half of your screen and then 6 little thumbnails of other angles of the same game, just from a different camera. So we pick up feeds from 7 different cameras, and they're all synced in real time. So when you're watching it on your phone, you can just basically touch whichever angle you want, and that will become the hero screen, the larger screen, and you can watch that play develop from wherever whatever angle you want to watch it from. You know, the sideline, a different sideline. I mean, it's super cool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, so that is so.
Here.
And imagine if you watch, imagine if you think about other sports where you can't, if you're at a golf tournament, let's just use that as an example, right? If you ever go to a golf tournament, you know, you're one place on the golf tournament. You might be at the 8th green or something, but then you hear a roar from, you know, the 15th or something or somewhere else. Imagine if you had on your phone, you know, the ability to watch 7 different golf holes, you know, action from 6 or 7 different golf holes, all on your screen while you're standing at the 8th green. Or if you're watching an auto race, a NASCAR race or a Formula One race, and, you know, you want to watch the 4th turn because it's way over there and you're not able to see that. I mean, that's where this stuff becomes really fun.
Oh my God. So for a guy who loves sitting at home and watching sports, this is not good for me. This is I mean, I'm going to,
His kids are going to be, you're going to have to call DCFS and get somebody to watch his kids.
Oh my God. What you're talking about is honestly blowing my mind, honestly. Because I've been thinking about that. And I'm also thinking about, how about those games and those events where people would go to personally experience it, right? In lieu of being able to see it, right? You go there so you can actually get the personal view. But now, with what experience you're talking about to a fan, what's that going to do to tickets? I wonder if people are going to be like, I'd rather be in front of my TV and get the hero screen and decide what I want to watch, how I want to watch it.
Although you can bring your mobile device to the game.
Yeah, on your mobile device. You can do it at the stadium. Yeah, you can still do it at the stadium too. I mean, look, you know, there is something to be said about being, you know, in a stadium. There's an excitement, there's an energy that you don't get from watching it at home. But I hear you. I mean, it's getting to the point where, you know, we're trying to deliver that sort of in-stadium experience right wherever you are.
You know, I think, you know, when I hear you talk about this, I think about all the things that are moving to the cloud, right? I mean, there's so much stuff that has gone into the cloud and is being delivered, being rendered and processed in the cloud, and then delivered over real-time streaming. And, one of the big ones that's just in the news constantly now, way too much, is, the whole idea of the metaverse, right? And, like so much of that is being rendered and processed, on big GPU farms in the cloud and then streamed out, and there's so much of that requires, multi-user interaction and that time alignment. I could see that being something that's a really valuable technology to, that sort of implementation, or other kinds of just even these kind of conferences, could benefit from, more time alignment, better streaming, faster streaming, lower latency, so it seems like healthcare,
imagine, healthcare, education.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't even think we've honestly scratched the surface of what this type of technology can actually do. I mean, obviously we're kind of focused on certain verticals because, we're a for-profit company and we've got to keep the lights on and we've got to go where the going's great, as they say. But I think that, there is going to be a tremendous amount of application beyond, just entertainment, if you will, to real live, actually people helping other people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that sounds like an exciting piece of it, because I think that's one of the things that stands in the way of a lot of these technologies realizing their true potential, right?
Yeah, and look, I mean, one of the things that we're doing is we're constantly trying to improve the technology and even minimize the latency even more so and make the quality even better. And just, technology is technology. It's never perfect. But that's the idea, is that, perfect is the enemy of good. You just strive for, to make it as good as you can and continue to fix it when you see some issues, or improve it, or make, we've added, ad insertion as like a monetization feature where you can, put ads in. So now it's like, so you can create different ways to generate revenue beyond just a subscription or something. So, there's a constant need for new features, new improvements. And the advantage that we have is that we've been doing it for so long that we're, the basics we're past already. So it's now for us, it's fine tuning and improving and making it bigger, better, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
Is where we are.
Yeah. Well, so on that, tell me what's next for Phenix? Like, what do you guys see on the horizon for you? Cool technologies you're chasing after?
Well, we're going to stream the Olympics to 1 billion people.
Well, you're going to have to find 1 billion people to stream to first.
I know. I think we're going to have to find 1 billion people. Listen, I think it's just, we want more people to adopt our technology. It's out there. It works. It's proven. It's not an idea anymore. This is a proven working. We're streaming millions of streams a day. So, this is a proven working technology. And we want more people to realize that you don't have to take 30 seconds delay and accept it. There was an article that I read recently. I forgot where it was, but the author sort of alluded to the fact that, the delays are 30 to 60 seconds, and that's just the way it is. But you know what? That's not the way it is. And, we want to make sure that people understand that that's not what you have to do. There's a better way to do it. There's a better solution.
Well, yeah, and certainly broadcast television is a dinosaur that's, dying off swiftly. Because like I said, I don't even have cable anymore. I mean, I stream everything in our household, and my kids are so confused when they see a commercial. They're like, "What is this?"
Right. Yeah. Well, look, they'll find other ways to generate revenue. I mean, there's going to still be ads in certain streaming platforms, but there's subscription, there's, merchandise, and all the things that you can do on a screen at once is what's going to make this really interesting.
Well, I could imagine, like when you talk about the 7 screen, you could even sell that as a premium feature potentially.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting, and I think there's a lot of cool potential for this technology, and I think that with the changes that we're seeing, that there's going to be a lot more for you. Have you guys been approached by like the Netflix of the world and those kinds of companies to?
I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed to say. Okay.
I will say that there are ongoing conversations with a variety of different types of companies in a variety of different types of fields. I mean, what we're doing is pretty special, and more and more people are starting to realize it. So it's exciting from where I sit. I just, I'm like a spectator, and that's part of it. But it's pretty exciting what's going on.
Yeah, no, it sounds really cool. And, I really appreciate you coming on and telling us all about this, because I don't think, like I said, it just seems like magic to so many of us when just stuff works. And, you think about it.
It is magic.
Well, it is magic.
It
right?
really kind of is magic, actually.
but I mean, there's just, a lot happening in the background that, we just take for granted. It's like, we're flying through the sky in silver tubes and watching, right. TV and, like communicating with people on the other side of the world. And we just live in this incredible time where incredible things are happening. But,
Yeah, you're right. No, it's my pleasure. I enjoy it and would love to come back.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for doing it. And we'll look forward to seeing how you guys proceed. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, Dish. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, please give us a like. Think about subscribing. And we will see you in the next video.